Hey there, everyone. Another day in the markets, another day of opportunity. We're going to talk BigBear.AI stock update, Soundhound stock update as well. So BBAI stock, SOUN stock, and then we also have RH stock, so Restoration Hardware, and then Lucid stock after putting out their earnings. Wolf will talk about if there's opportunity that still lies in wait for us for Lucid, but I also want to talk about the background market bias as well. And guys, I will be sharing these technicals and more over at the Discord. You guys can join us, code word doctor, when you sign up. But in the meantime, let's show you what in the world's going on here, try and make sense of it and talk about, how to move forward from here. So first of all, for the Qs, there's a rising wedge pattern that you might be able to see on your screen here, where you see the price moving up, but narrowing in range as it moves up and then getting squeezed out of that thing, falling down through the bottom, having an intraday confirmation of a retest on Thursday of last week before falling through on Friday. We recovered this blue 20-day moving average coming across your screen here on Monday. Tuesday fell back beneath it, and more near term than that. First of all, we do want to overtake that. We have sat on top the 21 EMA. Perfect to have that as support. The next thing that we're looking for is getting back on top of this 5 and this 13 that's in yellow and green. Oh, nice rhyming, Dr. Stock. So we want to get back on top of those. That's going to show us some near-term strength. 54 for the RSI is also perfect, by the way. The bullishness in the market's not necessarily over, but there are some hurdles that we have to jump over in order to see those big green days come back to us. And there's definitely reason to be nervous too, especially given the non-farm payrolls that report that we got with the significant revisions that came along with it as well. People are like, oh, maybe the Fed waited too long. Oh gosh, And I honestly think that some of that, with that anticipation of maybe September will be that rate cut. Right now, that's the most likely thing. I think some of that anticipation spilling over to IWM, and that things could continue northward until the wheels fall off the cart for the small caps, even though that we might not necessarily be in the best of shape. I think the market itself is still generally upward in its movements with this little bit of volatility that happens until there's some major snapping event that takes place. Until then, I'm going to remain bullish, but with some eyes on protecting myself a little bit. So I have some of that hedging available over at the Discord, some of the things that I've done to position myself that if we do get some weakness in the markets, and that I still stand to benefit from that as well. And I think that could, I think that's a very wise thing to do as we enter this period of chop, so I can profit in the near term, or if not, my longs will benefit and outweigh those hedging positions that I have. So for SPY, it's much the same thing, rising wedge pattern like we saw for the Qs, and we have fallen out of it. So got, once again, an intraday retest here. Sold off on Friday. Thursday took us back up above the 20-day, back down below it on Tuesday in the market. And if we do ourselves a favor and put up the EMAs on here, it's very similar look to what we had for the Qs, that we got to get back on top of the 5 and the 13. If we can't get back on top, then we got to watch out for, are we going to lose the 21 EMA? Because we did lose it, and then we regained it even though we opened below it on Monday. Tuesday, it held up as support for us, much like it did for the Qs. If we lose that, then we could be looking down at the supports for SPY, which happens to be in the low 620s, and down below that would be the 50 EMA that we're looking at, which I believe happens to be around, I actually have that on here for you, 613 as of the recording of this video. And then for the Qs, it's 544, and it also has trend line support. The Qs do at about 546, so that could actually be really solid for us. And it also sets up some further opportunities as things start to get very toppy and a little bit expensive. It's nice to see, okay, near-term jolt, and then we're able to ride the wave back up. And like I said, until we get evidence that the wheels have fallen off the cart, I think we're still in okay shape for seeing further bullishness. So for IWM, on the daily chart, we're just down below the 20. So we could be seeing a bounce off the 50 and the 200. And then from that bounce, we're doing a mean reversion to the 20. So some of the explanation could be that, yeah, we're going to see weakness in the Russell 2000. It's outperforming because we're experiencing mean reversion off a bounce of major support. So that's one narrative. Another one could be, hey, the Fed could cut rates soon and we could be seeing easy monetary policy. And we don't know yet that we're in a recession, that we might just, maybe it's happening. We're going to watch for the next report. But in the meantime, we'll trade this thing up, and then that gives us even more room to fall if we have to turn things around and start to go short on the small caps. So either one of those narratives, either it's a mean reversion and we're going to sell more, or we get back up on top of that and then we enter back into a period of further bullishness. There we go. And if we look at the EMAs, so far we're up above in the pre-market, up above the 13 and the 5. And if we get that 5 to cross back over the 13 and to cross back over the 21, those are bullish crossovers, which means that we could have further upside coming out of the small caps. So that leads me into stocks like BigBear.AI and Soundhound, which are highly speculative plays as they're profitless companies, with a lot of reasons to be excited about them. I talk about the trading here. And like I said, I share my technicals over at the Discord. I got a 10% profit on a trade that I made with an options call on BigBear.AI from just Monday to Tuesday. Just a small one because we didn't see the explosiveness that I thought we could potentially experience. Got stopped out at 10%. And then also I reported yesterday on QUBT that we could see some decent explosiveness or at least volatility there, and took 33% on an intraday trade from that as well. I used options to do it. And guys, not only can you join us in the Discord, but if you want to learn about how to do these technicals like you see here, how to trade off of them, and then also how to use options to really amp up the alpha potential for your portfolio, there's some coursework down in the description as well through Stockmo Academy. When you sign up for those, use code word doctor. It'll save you cash on either one of them. Tons of cash when you bundle the two courses together because you get the bundle discount and then you also get the code word doctor discount on top of it as well. So guys, let's talk about what we're seeing here. So if we are going to see a run up for the small caps, that can be a little bit of alleviating pressure, if you will, on something like BigBear.AI, even though it's not necessarily directly correlated with them. So some of the things that we see here just on the daily chart, and then we'll go into the hourly to show the near-term price action we're experiencing. We got a candle yesterday that sat on support at the 13 and then closed slightly above it. So we're above every moving average that's on here, the 5, the 13, the 21, the 50, and we're also up above the 200 EMA as well. And if we take those down and put up the simple moving averages, you can see that mean reversion that I was talking about. We fell down through the 20-day, had a mean reversion to that 20-day simple moving average. We need to sit on top of it. We didn't. Sell pressure, sell pressure. Both times when we tried it out, that tells me that that confirms the resistance that we're seeing, on top of the fact that we also happen to sit right in the middle of this area of resistance. So breaking through the red and that 740, check this out. Let's drop down to the hourly chart. So if you've been following my channel, you know that this has been on here for quite a while, definitely long before I had these. This green one was red, but then we broke back up above it. Found out that we had it as support, and we're still seeing it as support today. So it once again retested as support. We'll see if it holds out through the regular trading day. We actually hit exactly at 740, which is exactly where I have that top of that resistance on Tuesday, right in the morning. Now we're sitting right at about 693 is where I have the top of this support, and we actually bottomed out at 692 during the pre-market hours. So that 20-day, that happens to be right in through here that we got those rejections on. Got to get up on top of that 20-day. When you look on here, this is the orange 200-day coming through the red. I'll take the red down for a moment so that you guys can see that. So let me take that down. There we go. This orange line is the 200 SMA for the hourly chart that we're looking at. Sitting on top of that is another thing that we could look for on an hourly basis that would translate really well with what we have for the 20-day here at 716, and then on the hourly chart that is also at 716. So just so you know, that's what I'm looking for. We want to get on top of that. If we can't get on top of that, we could reject, we could sell down further, and we could potentially lose that support that we have. Then we're back down to trend line support down below that, and that takes us in the mid to low 630s as we head down that way. So BigBear.AI is it's a momentum driven stock because it's a profitless stock that right now, like, it has scalability concerns. There's a ton of interest in it right now as a play with government defense contracts and like the AI side of it. Like, there's so much potential, and it has a huge backlog. 385 million, I think, is that backlog, and people are just chomping at the bit to see some of that news drop. The earnings are coming out on Monday. That's probably our next catalyst event. We probably won't see anything between now and then. And if we do, that's great, and hopefully it's good news. But most likely, that's at least the next known catalyst that's coming for BigBear.AI. And so for me, I might take some small risk in terms of options as that comes along, and I'll share that out over at the Discord on Monday when I do that trading. So for anybody who's part of that, if you're already part of the community, awesome, glad to have you there. Anybody who's part of that is going to see those options trades to see what I'm doing with it. I do hold 200 shares of BigBear.AI. That's just a speculative hold for me, as I do think that there's significant potential to still push this thing up to $10 to $15 per share, but it is momentum driven. It is news driven. We need to watch those things come along. In the meantime, we just don't have the volume yet. We don't have that excitement to really continue to push us up through these different resistances. So a volume-based move to the upside is going to be really good evidence that the buyers are coming back in and are going to trade this thing up. So let's get over to Soundhound stock. There we go. So I was talking about this in a previous video, and in that previous video, I said we got to get back up on top of that 50 EMA. We did. As a matter of fact, we closed up above the 13 and the 21 with the 5 creeping up on it here. I'll take this down so you can see those moving averages more clearly. This green 5, which swooped down below the 50, is now about to cross back up over it. And in the next couple of days, if Soundhound can keep its price action going, we should also see the 5 cross the 50, the 13, the 21, and all of those are very bullish signs for us. We do have that trend line resistance right at about 1145. So we'll just call it the mid 11s because it is slanting up slightly. So depending on how long it takes to do that, the RSI is at 51. On a weekly, it's at 52, and on a monthly, it's at 55. Rising on a monthly, and then rising on a weekly, and then also now starting to rise again on a daily basis. So we could be getting to that point for Soundhound that we actually start to see that bullish moment. Being a speculative company, one of the risks that we want to pay attention to is the fact that they have an earnings catalyst on the 7th, and a lot of the speculative companies that have their prices driven up, and you'll see it when we talk about Lucid, a lot of those companies, the earnings reports tend to be downward pressure for them. So if I had to flip a coin on those options, and that's essentially what it is, because you don't know how the market's going to respond to good or bad guidance, all that kind of stuff, unless you have like intimate knowledge of the company, the technicals, they're not going to hold up to an earnings report, at least not for the ones near to the price necessarily. There are things to look for the potential places you could go based on the implied volatility with the options, what the options expected move is, all that kind of stuff. So without getting too much into the weeds on this, so far we are looking bullish. We do have that catalyst. We could run up to this trend line resistance up here, up to earnings on Thursday during the aftermarket hours. The trend line resistance, by the way, is here. I know you like to look at the side of my pretty head here. So watch out for that Thursday in the after hours. RH stock, for this one, you can see the red arrow here pointing to this trend line resistance at 224. The momentum's looking good. The volume's, it's kind of okay. It's kind of a little bit subdued volume that we're not getting a lot. This is fairly low float, but it is a little bit expensive. So when I say low float, it has 15 million shares, but the price tag being as high as it is, it's hard for people to take larger orders, if you will, as compared to like a $10 to $20 stock or something like that. But I still think that if we can break that 224, and we're on a path to do it so far, there's a lot of technicals, including the RSI, that support it, that we could have that move up to 245 pretty readily after breaking 224, especially if we're able to do it on volume. So I got RH on my list. I think it's highly interesting. Lucid, I talked about this one before on my channel. Look at that triple bottom that we have. And let me take down the Fibonacci extensions and the pivots. There we go. So it's a little bit cleaner to look at. It's still having scaling issues, like the production not bad, or I should say the production, instead of being 20,000, now 18 to 20,000, so potentially 10% lower than what they anticipated. That's some of the downward pressure that they're having. Deliveries were good, and then once again, there's potential here. There's some promise here. The interesting thing I think to pay attention to for Lucid is what happens right around $2, which is where you see the bottom here for this triple bottom, because that can give us sort of a range-based move that puts us up about 30% in this move. Now, mind you, as I watch this thing come down, I think June 23rd is when I took a position on this one as we were near these bottoms here and then these 3 pivots that were very important to us, very critical to us. I was like, there's usually a big move historically. So you can see big move and then you see double bottom, big move. I was like, well, this now makes triple bottom. We should see a big move coming. And you can see the technicals of it starting, and then that Uber news dropped. And I don't mean like the news was Uber. I mean news with a partnership with Uber for 20,000 of their vehicles, but over 6 years. And man, that explosion, I took, that was a 3X for me, a 3X move in order to capitalize on that. And then one of the Discord members reported that they had like a 7X return on that options play that we had. And that was I was looking for 2X. The fact that we got 3X and he got 7X, for me, I cashed out right at the beginning, and I also bought a little sooner. He waited a little bit to buy when the option was cheaper, and then, so for him, the scaling of it was much more, and that thing actually 10X'd from one day to the next. So anticipating these things, watching these things could allow you to take some fairly low capital and to take home some fairly large upside, and that really panned out in a big way for us. If we pull all the way back to that sub $2 region, I anticipate that we're also going to have more large moves coming, and we'll pay attention to the background market bias on that. So guys, let me know what you think about BigBear.AI stock. Are we soon to see that major upside? Is the earnings report the thing that's going to knock things out of the park for us, or is it just going to fall to the earth? What about Soundhound stock? Are the earnings going to be the right catalyst for us to really propel us up to those higher highs that we could be looking for, that $15 to $16, or is it going to be one of those scaling issue type things? Just, let me know what you think on those. What about RH? Do you think we're going to break 224? If so, we're going to put on that 10% bump to get us up to 245. And Lucid, stop down at 2, or is it going to be something instead that just keeps on following and we start to see it closer to like $1 per share, for example? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and I'd also love to see you guys over at the Discord as part of the community, and I'd also love to know that you're taking the time to invest in yourself to really learn and improve yourself so you know how to capitalize on these opportunities as they come along. So if you're looking to improve yourself, invest in yourself, and help yourself as much as possible in that journey towards financial freedom, building the alpha in your portfolio, the coursework's there in the description. Remember code word doctor. Remember the bundle also gives you the bundle discount. And if you're looking for a community to surround you in this process, that Discord that I mentioned with code word doctor, use the earner tier so you get unrestricted access to everything, including the expert panelists specific channels and the Ask the Expert channel. You guys should check that out too. Use the earner tier, use code word doctor, guys. Otherwise, I'm just going to let you go. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.